What's up, fight fans? UFC 302 this weekend. We have Islam Makhachev taking on Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Shine bright like a diamond. Will he take it home this weekend? I'm going to break it down and let you know all the best bets and picks for today's card. So starting off the prelims, we've got the bantamweights. Andre Lima taking on first-timer Mitch Raposo. Andre Lima 1-0 in the UFC. His most recent fight came off of a very controversial finish where he was bitten by his opponent. He's looking to overcome that adversity in his first fight and start with a clean slate against Mitch Raposo. Mitch Raposo was formerly in the Ultimate Fighter. He fought on the Contender Series and lost to Jake Hadley. He is 9-1. He has never fought in the big show, but this is going to be his first fight. He has 4 straight finishes. He's a strong wrestler, and I look for him to take Lima down in this fight. I think if he takes down Lima, he has a path to victory. Lima's a very strong striker on his feet. I think Mitch needs to get in there, get his head down, wrestle him. If not, it's going to be a tough night. We'll see, though. Second fight of the night, we've got Jocelyn Edwards versus Aline Perez. Jocelyn Edwards coming in a plus 210 underdog here. Jocelyn Edwards 13-5, 4-3 in the UFC. Her most recent fight was a decision loss. She's a long female fighter. Going against Aline Perez here. Aline Perez 9-2, 2-1 in the UFC. Her most recent victory was a win versus Lucy Pudilova via decision. She's an Argentinian. She's a grappler. I think her path to victory is taking her down. Edwards, a very good kickboxer on her feet, but has shown a lot of weaknesses in her grappling game. I think if Edwards can stay at the end of her jab and move around the cage without getting taken down, I think she has a path to victory. However, I think Aline Perez will ultimately get the decision victory here. Fight number 3, we've got Mickey Gall versus Basil Hafez. Basil is, this is his second fight. His first fight was against Jack Della Maddalena. Jack Della Maddalena is one of the top prospects in the welterweight division. Jack was expected to go in there and finish Basil on short notice. However, he ultimately lost a decision to Jack Della Maddalena, but it showed a lot of his toughness and grit and skills in the octagon. Interesting fight matchup though. However, he's going against Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall 6-5 in the UFC, 7-5 overall. That means all of his fights pretty much have come in the UFC. This guy has grown into the big show. His most recent loss was against Mike Malott, where he was knocked out. However, a very tough matchup for him. Going against Basil here, shorter, more compact version, strong dude. I think if Mickey can limit his mistakes, at plus 225, he's a good underdog. He's got definite room to win this fight. If he can take Basil down, take his back. Same game plan for every fight for Mickey Gall. Just take their back, choke them out. Going against Hafez, he just needs to wear Mickey Gall down. Mickey Gall is known as a sprinter. I think if he can get past that first round and a half, I think this is going to be Hafez's fight for sure. Fight number 4, we've got Niko Price, the hybrid, versus Alex Morono. For those of you that don't know, Niko Price is among one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. Many of you may not know his name even, but this guy is a finisher. He is 15-7, 7-7 in the UFC. His most recent fight, he got knocked out by Robbie Lawler. But that's kind of the story of most of his fights. Niko is a finish or be finish type fighter. And going against Alex Morono here, he's going to be in the same situation. Morono likes to get into a firefight. Alex Morono 24-9, 13-6-1 in the UFC, with his most recent fight coming as a victory via decision versus Court McGee, another veteran. I think this fight is going to absolutely bang. Niko Price is going to go out there right away, get in his face. At plus 210 underdog, I love this line for Niko Price. He's got the power to put Alex Morono away. And I think if he can use his full skill set, I know that Niko has really good wrestling that he doesn't get to show off a lot because he is so interested in getting in that firefight. I think there's a really good path to victory and plus 210 for Niko Price. I really like that for you guys. Fight number 5, we've got Phil Rowe versus Jake Matthews. This is another really interesting fight on the card. Phil Rowe, 6'3" welterweight, longest reach in the welterweight division, fighting Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews, another one of those guys like Mickey Gall, where he has grown on the big stage. This guy is a 19-7 record overall, but 12-7 in the UFC. So 19 of his 26 career fights have been in the UFC. Most recently, he lost a decision to Michael Morales. However, before that, he was on a win streak, I believe, of 3 or 4. I really like this matchup. Phil Rowe is going to use his length. If he can stay off the cage and avoid the clinch of Jake Matthews, I think he's got a really nice path to victory. I think really what it comes down to in this fight is whichever one of the athletes can move forward and impose their game plan. I know imposing your game plan, that's an easy one, but if you can move forward and keep the pressure on your opponent, I think whichever one of these fighters is backing up this fight is going to lose that fight. Which takes us to our next fight. In the prelims, we've got a grappler's delight between Grant Dawson and Joe Solecki. Grant Dawson, minus 320 favorite, 22-1, 8-1-1 in the UFC. His most recent fight, he's coming off his first loss in the UFC where he was knocked out by Bobby Green in his first main event. He's going up against an opponent in Joe Solecki, who's 5-2 in the UFC, 13-4 overall, and also is coming off of a KO via slam. Both guys, interesting points of their career because these are both very highly touted prospects coming off of critical losses in their career. Both guys were on the upswing. They were looking to keep climbing the rankings and got a hit. So this is going to be about which one of these grapplers can bounce back. I think Grant Dawson has more path to victory than Joe Solecki. I think he's going to be a little bit cleaner on the feet. I think if he can stay behind his jab on the feet, it's going to lead to his takedown. And ultimately, this fight's going to come down to if Joe Solecki shoots, if Grant Dawson shoots, whichever one of these guys can win the scramble is going to win this fight. Because I think ultimately the guy that finishes on top in the scrambles is going to win this fight. They're both grapplers. It's going to be interesting, really high-level scrambles. I think Grant Dawson gets it done, but we'll see fight night. Last fight in the prelims, we've got Roman Kopylov taking on Cesar Almeida. And for a lot of you guys, you may not know how good of a fight this is. This is an amazing fight in the middleweight division. Roman Kopylov, he is 12-3, 4-3 in the UFC. His most recent fight, he was rear naked choked by Fluffy Hernandez. However, that comes after he was on a 4-fight win streak. This guy is a high-level kickboxer. Maybe not the best against grapplers, but this guy is a high-level kickboxer. I believe he is a master of hand sport in Russia. He's taking on Cesar Almeida. Cesar Almeida, 5-0, 1-0 in the UFC. A lot of question marks about this guy. His first victory in the UFC was a TKO win via elbows versus Devin Budka, who was also another Contender Series alum. Cesar's claim to fame is that he has had 3 fights in K1 versus Alex Pereira. He is 1-2 in those fights. However, he holds a kickboxing win over the light heavyweight champion right now. They're looking to push him very hard, as it seems. Putting him up against Roman Kopylov. This guy is a killer. This fight is near pick'em odds right now, which is interesting. I think they're putting a little bit too much in Almeida right now. He has shown that he has the ability to grapple. However, I don't think his game is as polished as everyone thinks it is. That being said, I think Kopylov he's a sniper. He's also very long. I think Kopylov probably gets this done and you make good money on the near pick'em value. That's the end of the prelims. Let's see what we got for the main card. All right, breaking down the main card, we've got a banger to start the card. To start the main card, we've got Randy Rude Boy Brown sitting at a minus 155 favorite versus one of my favorite underdogs on this card, Alessio Zaleski dos Santos. And if you're watching either of these guys, Randy Brown, 18-5, 12-5 in the UFC. Zaleski dos Santos, 24-7-1, 10-3-1 in the UFC. Both these guys are extremely underrated for their skill set. Both guys fighting in the UFC a long time. Zaleski dos Santos coming off of a draw versus Rinat Fakhretdinov. Rinat is one of the favorites in the Middle East. He is a title prospect. And that was a huge, huge fight where he was very, very, very big underdog in that fight. Randy Brown coming off of a KO win versus Muslim Salkov where he was favored to knock that guy out. I think this is one of the most slept on matchups in the card. Zaleski is one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC, 37 years old. So is he getting a little bit too old now? Will be interesting to find out. He is going to blitz Randy Brown. I think Randy Brown needs to survive the initial onslaught without spending too much of his energy because he sometimes gets drawn into that early firefight. I think if he can avoid that early firefight and let Zaleski wear out, I think he has a path to victory in the later rounds via grappling. However, don't count out Zaleski dos Santos here, guys. I think if he goes in there. I think he blitzes him early. I think Zaleski in the first 2 rounds, I think he clips him and knocks Randy out, but we'll find out. That's the point of watching the fights. Next fight, we've got the heavyweights, Jailton Almeida versus Alexander Romanov. Jailton Almeida coming off of his first loss in the UFC where he was knocked out by Curtis Blades. He's 6-1 in the UFC. He's going to be taking on Romanov, who's coming off a decision victory versus Blahoy Ivanov. When I look at this matchup, I see 2 heavyweight grapplers. Not uncharacteristic to see, however, this heavyweight grappler, one of them, in my opinion, has a light heavyweight frame and one of them has a super heavyweight frame. Alexander Romanov, huge heavyweight. Almeida, small heavyweight. I think this is going to be interesting. We're going to know in the first 1 minute of this fight how it will go. Almeida will shoot in the first minute, and if Romanov stuffs that with a good heavy sprawl, I think that Jailton Almeida is in for some serious trouble. I think the plus 240 line on Romanov is it's a little stretched right now. I think after Jailton's first loss, I think everyone in the heavyweight division can see his path to victory. He's going to shoot, he's going to try and take you down, he's going to try and submit you. I think if you stop that initial takedown, and with a heavy frame like Romanov, I think he has a path to victory if he can stop that. Lean on the over 1.5 in this one, guys. I think that would be good money. 10th fight of the night, we've got Kevin Holland versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. This one is, I think, a setup fight. I think that the UFC loves Kevin Holland. I think they're giving him a, not a freebie, but maybe a freebie in the UFC terms. Personally, I think Oleksiejczuk's a good fighter, but I think he's nowhere near on the level that Kevin Holland is. He's a herky-jerky fighter. He has weird movements, weird techniques, unorthodox techniques, which has led for him to get victories in the UFC. However, over competition that I think is a little bit weaker than Kevin Holland. 7-5 in the UFC for Oleksiejczuk, 19-7 overall. His most recent fight was a rear naked choke loss to Michel Pereira, where he got clipped and then choked. He has heavy hands, Oleksiejczuk, and he's going to need to use it. Kevin Holland, not in the best form of his career right now. He's coming off of a decision loss versus Michael Venom Page. I think he needs to take the path of least resistance in this fight. I know he's a great grappler. I think if he takes the back of Oleksiejczuk or even takes him down once, I think he has a path to victory via submission. I think Kevin Holland gets the job done here. I think he gets the job done. Maybe we'll sprinkle a little bit on submission this one, I think. Kevin Holland by submission, paying plus money. Maybe we make a little money here, guys. That'll bring us to the co-main event. Secret Juice. Paulo Costa taking on Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland minus 205 favorite in this spot. Coming off of a loss where he lost his belt via decision to Dricus du Plessis. It's a very interesting spot for him. Strickland has talked about how he doesn't want the title. The title doesn't matter. He's just interested on making money. He's got a killer in front of him in Paulo Costa. When he's on form, Paulo Costa is one of the best fighters in the UFC. And I think Sean's been overlooking Costa a little bit. He knows that he's got a tough Brazilian in his mind in front of him, but I think he's looking past Paulo Costa a little bit. I think if Costa can stay to his good techniques and avoid headhunting versus Strickland, I think he's got a very good path to victory by keeping this on the feet. I don't think Sean's going to be able to take this down, or if he wants to take it down, he can probably take it down, but I don't think Sean is going to want to take it down. I think he's going to stand up. I think he's going to box with Paulo. I think ultimately that might be his biggest mistake, being that this is a 5-round fight. I think if Paulo wears him to the body, doesn't headhunt, mixes the target, I really like Paulo Costa over 5 rounds. I think Paulo Costa decision is definitely on the table, but I wouldn't rule out the knockout. But if I had to bet right now, I say Paulo Costa by decision over 5 rounds. Let's make some good money on this fight. Main event time, guys. Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is coming into this fight as a plus 360 underdog. Islam Makhachev, 14-1 in the UFC. His one loss being a KO loss to Adriano Martins, which actually happened. Many people think that Islam is just undefeated, unbeatable. He is beatable. He has been knocked out by a mid-level competition. His most recent fight, he knocked out Volk. He has shown that his stand-up has grown miles to reach where his grappling ability is. Dustin Poirier also showing good form. He's knocked out Benoit Saint Denis. This is his Rocky story right here, guys. Dustin Poirier, can he get it done versus the big scary Russian? He needs to pitch a perfect game, in my opinion, if he wants to get this done. You can't be jumping Gilly. You can't just be making foolish mistakes near the end of the round with Islam, because Islam capitalizes on those mistakes. I think when I'm looking at this fight, I think Islam via finish in the first 3 rounds. I think that's pretty much a gimme. I also think that you could get maybe some plus money on Islam via KO TKO. I think that there's a world where he gets taken down, he gives up the mount, and Islam beats him up. I think Islam probably pieces him up real bad. Although I'd love to see Dustin pull it out. I think he's in for a tough night. Ultimately, I think that this will be the last time that we get to watch Dustin fight. I think he's going to retire after this one. So regardless of how it goes, I think just enjoy this main event there, guys. It'll be a great fight. I think Islam via sub, though. Islam via KO. Islam via finish. Islam however he wants, you know? But yeah, guys, that's UFC 302 from Newark, New Jersey this weekend. Those are my bets. Those are my picks. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.